Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone. Has someone ever made you feel like you were losing your mind when the whole time it was actually them? I want to sit with you today, not as an expert standing behind a podium, but as someone who has looked into the eyes of thousands of women over decades of work and heard the same story told in 1,000 different voices. A story that goes like this: I don't know what happened to me. I used to know who I was. I used to trust myself. But somewhere along the way, I stopped. If that sentence landed somewhere deep inside your chest, I need you to know something right now. In the very first moments of this conversation, you were not broken, you were handled. There is a profound difference between those two things. And by the time we're finished today, you will feel that difference. Not just in your mind, but in your bones. Today, we are going to walk together through something that most women in our generation were never taught to name. We were raised to be gracious, to be forgiving, to assume the best in people, and those are beautiful qualities. Truly they are. They are part of what makes you extraordinary. But here is what no one told us: those very qualities, our warmth, our loyalty, our deep capacity for love, can become the exact tools that emotionally unsafe people use against us. Today is not about becoming cold or closed. Today is about becoming wise. There is a world of difference between a woman who has walls and a woman who has boundaries. Today we build boundaries. Today we build something I call emotional immunity. Stay with me. This may be one of the most important hours you spend with yourself all year. You were not broken. You were handled. And the moment you understand the difference, your healing begins. Let's begin with what I call the naming, because here is what I know after decades of studying human psychology. Manipulation only holds its power in the darkness of being unnamed. The moment you can look at something and say, I see you. I know what you are. Its grip on you begins to loosen. So we're going to name 8 of the most common manipulation tactics together. And I want you to listen, not to diagnose anyone in your life, but to recognize patterns, to give language to experiences that may have left you feeling confused, ashamed, or alone. You say, that really hurt me when you said that. They say, I never said that. You're too sensitive. You're imagining things. Gaslighting is perhaps the most insidious of all manipulation tactics because it doesn't attack your actions. It attacks your perception. It tells you that you cannot trust the one instrument you were born with to navigate this world, your own mind. Women of our generation are particularly vulnerable to this one because we were taught that being agreeable, being flexible, being willing to reconsider, these were virtues, and they are, but a manipulator will take that virtue and weaponize it until you are reconsidering even the things you saw with your own eyes. If you have ever walked away from a conversation feeling more confused about what happened than when you entered it, you may have encountered gaslighting. This one is quieter. This one hurts in a way that is harder to explain to others because there are no words said, no actions taken. There is simply a withdrawal, a sudden coldness. Doors closed that were once open, Emotional withholding is used as punishment. It says, behave the way I want, or I will remove my warmth from you. For women who crave connection, and most of us do deeply, this tactic is devastating. It makes you scramble. It makes you apologize for things that didn't require an apology. It makes you shrink. I want you to hear this clearly. Love is not a faucet. Genuine love does not get turned off and based on whether you are compliant. If someone consistently uses their emotional presence as a reward for your submission, that is not love. That is control. Your conscience is one of the most beautiful things about you. Your ability to feel concern for others, to care about the impact of your actions, that is not a weakness. That is the mark of someone with deep moral character. But a manipulator knows this about you, and they will use it. They will remind you of every sacrifice they've ever made. They will reframe your healthy boundaries as selfishness. They will say things like, after everything I've done for you, and suddenly you are the villain in a story you didn't even know you were in. There is a crucial difference between genuine, loving accountability, that hurt me and I wanted you to know, and guilt tripping, which is, you hurt me and now you owe me. Accountability invites connection. Guilt tripping demands compliance. Oh, sweet friend, this one breaks my heart every single time. Love bombing is when someone at the start of a relationship or after a period of conflict floods you with affection, attention, compliments, and devotion. It feels extraordinary. It feels like finally being truly seen, like coming home after a long, long journey. And then once you are attached, once your heart is opened and your guard has lowered, the behavior shifts, the warmth fades, the praise stops, and you find yourself doing everything you can to get back to that beautiful beginning. That's the architecture of the trap. The love bombing creates the standard. The withdrawal creates the hunger. And suddenly you are working for something that was never truly on offer. Authentic love is not an event. It is a practice. It is consistent, imperfect, and present. Not a performance for the beginning of a season. Have you ever worked very hard to meet someone's expectation? And then the moment you got there, the expectation quietly shifted without explanation, without acknowledgement of what you'd done. Suddenly the bar was somewhere else entirely. This is a profoundly disorienting tactic because it is designed to ensure you never feel settled, never feel good enough, always slightly off balance. And that state of perpetual striving, that exhausting, anxious reaching, keeps you focused on trying to please rather than asking whether you should be trying at all. Here is your permission slip. Dear woman, you are not a project in need of improvement. You are a whole human being who deserves a relationship where the love is not contingent on your performance. Triangulation is the introduction of a third party. A person, a memory, an idealized version of someone else to create jealousy, insecurity, and competition. My ex never complained about this. Everyone else thinks I'm wonderful. Why don't you? She understands me in a way you never have. The intent is always the same, to destabilize your sense of worth so that you are too busy proving your value to question their behavior. It is a distraction tactic, and it works because we care, because we want to matter. You do matter. You do not have to compete for that truth. DRVO stands for Denny. Attack. Reverse victim and offender. You bring a concern to someone. You say calmly and clearly, when you said that, it hurt me. And suddenly, they are the one who has been wronged. You become the aggressor for having spoken up. Your very act of self-advocacy is reframed as an attack on them. This tactic is so effective because it immediately puts you on the defensive. Your legitimate pain gets buried under the avalanche of their reaction, and many good women who don't want to hurt anyone, will back down, apologize, and swallow their truth just to restore the peace. But that peace is not peace. That peace is surrender. And there is a profound cost to surrendering your truth over and over again. It costs you yourself. I'm just joking. Can't you take a joke? You're so sensitive. This one is often the hardest to name because it hides behind laughter. The insult is delivered with a smile, the wound is made, and then before you can even process it, you are told you're wrong for bleeding. Consistent, targeted jokes that always seem to land on your weight, your intelligence, your choices, your appearance, your emotions. These are not humor. Humor is shared joy. This is one directional pain wearing humor as a disguise. You are allowed to say, that didn't feel funny to me, full stop. Manipulation only holds power in the darkness of being unnamed. The moment you can say, see you, I know what you are, it loses its grip on your soul. Now, I want to address something with tremendous gentleness, because I know that some of you watching this may have recognized yourself in those tactics. Not only as someone who has experienced them, but as someone who has at times used some of them. We are all in our most frightened and unhealed moments capable of manipulation. Recognizing that is not self-condemnation. It is the beginning of extraordinary self-awareness. And for those of you who are still in these situations, still in these relationships, I want to hold you with tremendous care as I ask this question, why do good women stay? Because this is not a simple question and it deserves a real answer. First, because we love genuinely, deeply, completely. The love is real even when the relationship is harmful. And because we loved someone, we grieve the loss of who we hoped they were, or who they once were, or who they could be. That grief is completely valid and deeply human. Second, because many of us were raised in environments where these tactics were simply called family. They were called normal. We learned to navigate unpredictability as a survival skill. We learned that love and pain were partners. And when something feels familiar, even if it is harmful, our nervous system can actually experience it as safety. This is not weakness. This is neuroscience. Third, because manipulation is rarely constant. There are windows of warmth. There are moments of genuine connection. There is laughter and tenderness, and the person you fell in love with making a brief, beautiful reappearance, just long enough to renew the hope that this time it will be different. Brene Brown says that the most dangerous stories we tell ourselves are the ones where we are the villain or the victim, because both cast us as powerless. Today, I want to invite you into a third story, the story of the woman who sees clearly, who chooses wisely, and who builds something sacred, a sanctuary inside herself that no one can reach without her permission. The love you had for them was real. That is not the question. The question is whether the love they offered you was safe. You are allowed to tell the difference. Now we build. I want to be very clear about what emotional immunity is and what it is not. It is not coldness. It is not suspicion. It is not the building of walls so high that even love cannot reach you. Emotional immunity is the capacity to feel everything fully, the joy, the love, the grief, without losing yourself inside someone else's narrative. It is the ability to be moved without being swept away, to be present without being consumed. It is earned through practice. 7 practices, specifically, that I want to walk you through right now. The first and most powerful practice is this: learn to name what is happening as it is happening. Not days later, not weeks later, when you're journaling at midnight, finally understanding what that conversation was. Right there, in the moment, you say internally or aloud, if you're ready, this is gaslighting. This is guilt tripping. I see this, that naming, that small internal act of recognition interrupts the automatic response. It creates just enough space between stimulus and reaction for you to choose. Viktor Frankl called that space our greatest freedom. And it is. Your body is not your enemy. Your body is your oldest faithful ally. Long before your mind can articulate what is wrong, your body already knows the knot in the stomach before a difficult conversation, the shallow breathing when someone enters the room, the heaviness in the chest that takes days to lift after spending time with a certain person. That is data. That is sacred information. Emotional immunity means learning to consult your body as a wise advisor. Not to be ruled by it, but to listen to it with the same respect you would extend to a trusted friend. Begin a simple practice. When you leave a conversation, place one hand on your chest and ask, how do I feel? Do I feel more like myself or less? Do I feel seen or managed? That question alone is revolutionary. I want to reclaim the word boundaries for you today because it has been so misused, so misunderstood. A boundary is not a wall. A boundary is not a punishment. A boundary is not something you build against someone. A boundary is something you build for yourself. A boundary says, this is what I am available for. This is the quality of treatment I will receive. This is the version of this relationship I am willing to participate in. Boundaries are sacred architecture. They are the walls of your inner sanctuary. And you magnificent woman, have the absolute right to design that sanctuary according to your own wisdom, your own values, and your own hard-won understanding of what love should feel like. This one requires some practice, so be patient with yourself. Emotional non-entanglement means learning to receive someone's emotional state, their anger, their sadness, their disappointment, without absorbing it as your own. You can witness someone's pain without becoming responsible for it. You can see someone's anger without accepting it as evidence that you did something wrong. You can be present for someone's storm without becoming the storm yourself. A profound therapist once taught me a simple mantra for this. When someone's emotional state tries to pull you in, you say quietly to yourself, that belongs to them. I can be present without it being mine. This is not indifference. This is sanity. Emotional manipulators rely on your immediacy. They need you to react before you can think. They create urgency because urgency bypasses your wisdom and reaches straight for your fear. One of the most powerful things you can do is simply this: take more time than they expect. I hear what you're saying. I'm going to need a little time to sit with this before I respond. That sentence is a masterpiece of self-preservation. 7 seconds is enough. 7 seconds of breathing, of coming back to yourself, of consulting your body, can completely change the course of a conversation. And you are always allowed to take more time than someone else wants you to. Isolation is the ecosystem in which manipulation thrives. If someone in your life has, intentionally or not, become your only source of emotional reality, that is a crisis. You need people in your life who knew you before, who can say, that's not who you are. Who will reflect back to you gently and lovingly when you have drifted from yourself. Build and protect that circle fiercely. Those friendships, those relationships, a sister, a lifelong friend, a therapist, a community of women who are on the same journey of growth, they are not a luxury. They are a lifeline. This is the deepest practice, and in many ways the most sacred one. Manipulation over months and years can cause a woman to lose contact with herself, her preferences, her opinions, her sense of humor, her dreams, the things that make her distinctly, irreducibly her. Radical self-return is the daily intentional practice of coming back to that woman. It looks like asking yourself, what do I actually think about this? Not what would make things smoother. Not what am I supposed to say? What do I actually honestly think? It looks like doing one thing each day that is simply yours. A walk, a page of writing, a cup of tea in silence before anyone else is awake, a phone call to someone who makes you laugh. It looks like looking in the mirror, not to assess or criticize, but to greet, to say, there you are, I see you, I'm coming back to you. You didn't lose yourself all at once. It happened slowly, quietly, over hundreds of small surrenders. And you will return to yourself the same way, slowly, gently, one true choice at a time. We're in the final part of our time together. And I want to hold this space very gently, because what we've covered today is not light material. Some of you have been nodding quietly through this entire video, putting names to things that happened decades ago. Some of you recognized a relationship that is very much present tense. Some of you are grieving. Some of you are angry. All of it is right. All of it belongs here. I want to talk about forgiveness now, because I know it will come up. It always does. I believe in forgiveness deeply, but I want to gently dismantle a misunderstanding that has caused enormous damage to women of our generation. Forgiveness is not reconciliation. Forgiveness is not permission. Forgiveness is not the resumption of the relationship. Forgiveness is not something you owe anyone else. Forgiveness is what you do for yourself. It is the act of setting down a weight that was never yours to carry permanently. It is saying, what you did to me was wrong, and I am no longer willing to let it occupy space in my body and my present life. Forgiveness and boundaries are not in conflict. You can fully forgive someone, release them completely from the debt your heart has been keeping, and still choose never to be alone in a room with them again. Both things can be completely true at the same time. Healing, not fixed, not over it, not as if it never happened, but healing, which is a living, breathing, ongoing process that does not require perfection to be real. You are healing every time you name what is happening. You are healing every time you listen to your body before your fear. You are healing every time you hold a boundary and survive the discomfort of someone else's disappointment. You are healing every time you choose yourself in the small, quiet moments when no one is watching. That is not dramatic. That is not a single moment of lightning strike transformation. That is the dignified, daily, extraordinary work of a woman returning to herself. And it is the most important work you will ever do. Healing is not a destination. It is the direction you choose every single day, in the small and sacred moments when you decide, again, that you are worth it. Final minute. A soft prayer for healing. Close your eyes for just a moment. If you're somewhere you can, place your hand on your heart and breathe. May you know, in the deepest part of yourself, that you were never too much. You were simply too real for people who were not yet honest. May your boundaries become your blessing, not the walls of a prison, but the gates of a sanctuary, a place of belonging that you built for yourself, by yourself, from the beautiful wreckage of everything you survived. May you find in the women around you mirrors that reflect back the truth of who you are, not who someone needed you to be. And may you grant yourself the grace on the hard days, on the days you slip back into old patterns, on the days the doubt is louder than the wisdom, to simply begin again, without shame, with extraordinary tenderness. You are always worth it. You always will be